there, my name is Steve Gearhart and this is the Unagi Observer. Thank you so much for stopping by. This channel is simply just a review of things that I like. Science fiction, roleplay, fantasy, comics, and other sorts of fandoms, particularly anime and all things Asian. I do like history, music, and stuff that comes from Asia. So, with that, let's get into it. And this week we're going to talk about a science fiction novel called When Gravity Fails. Okay, so we are going to talk about When Gravity Fails by George Alec-Affinger. As you can tell, this is a well-worn copy because I have thoroughly enjoyed this book over the years, since I believe when it was written in 1987, I think, is when this book was written. This is the first in the trilogy of the Madrid Audran series. For those of you who know science fiction, written science fiction, George Alec-Affinger is a kind of a big name. He was part of the Clarion group. He was in the first anthology. He wrote Schrodinger's Kitten, which is considered to be a really good work of science fiction overall. And this series was something that was one of the last few things he worked on before he died in 2002 from numerous ailments through his entire life. Substance abuse in dealing partially and coming from the meds that he had used to deal with his ailments, and the fact that he lived in the French Quarter of New Orleans, and so there was that life of bad living. So his body just gave out in 2002, and he died at the age of 55, which is really sad because his body of work is actually impressive, not just the Madrid Audran trilogy. So like I said, this starts off When Gravity Fails. Starts off the Madrid Audran trilogy. Madrid is, by the way, just an idea of where this is set up in the world and what kind of world building goes on here, because this is an excellent example of world building. This takes place in the Middle East, and it takes place in the 22nd century, and there's some high technology, but it's kind of like a hybrid of former technology, 20th and 21st century, and kind of leading into the more high tech of the 22nd century. So you're talking about modular implants, you're talking about getting your brain wired, very cyberpunk, by the way. And the world is a very different place. It's balkanized. So there's no one superpower. There's no one big country. They've all fallen apart. And it appears that the Middle East is the only region in the world that's, other than China and Japan, that are kind of holding its stuff together. The rest of the world is just balkanized, and they're like, just squabbling. That's the best way I could put it. So Madrid Audran is it's called a Berber, which means that he is half Muslim, or from the area of Morocco, I believe, and half French. So he's kind of a white guy in a Muslim world. And it's very interesting because he is not augmented in any way. He doesn't have any modifications done to his body. And by the way, when I talk about modifications, I don't mean like guns pop out of your arm or anything like that. It's literally just like for the mind. Like your mind is wired. You're to be able to chip in things called daddies, which give you specific skill sets. Like if you want to be able to speak Japanese, you just pop in a little module into your head and kind of sticks out. Or if you want to change your entire personality, which is a more complex program and a larger chip, you can put that in there, and suddenly you become like James Bond. And actually, that's kind of how this story starts. This whole thing starts is that this guy is chipped in as James Bond, and Madrid in the first 3 pages deals with this guy. So he doesn't have any of these implants. He has no interest in getting these implants, and he's kind of a private eye, sort of a underworld Johnny Fix-It kind of guy. If you got a problem, you go to him, and for a fee he helps you out and stuff like that. He's not an assassin. He doesn't go around beating people up. He's just somebody who's very smart and uses his abilities to get by in the world. So he's in this place called the Boudiane, which is a part of the city. It's always called the city. You're never told exactly what the city is. My guess is that it's a form of Casablanca, based on where they talk a little bit about the geography of the place. It is set in the Muslim world, so Islam is a huge thing in it. You're going to get a lot of Arabic words. You're going to get a lot of Islam in there. And there's things, and by the way, he's not religious at all. And he's got his own issues with religion anyway. So he's working the seedy underworld, right, of the Buddhist. And suddenly, people that he knows are getting killed. Some of them are getting coerced. And one of his favorite people, I guess is the way to put it, goes missing after he helps her out changing pimps. Yeah, he does things like that. You know, it's just like, okay, he brokers the deal, basically. So this is also a world where the other type of modification is that you can change your gender and your looks. So he's dealing with a lot of, like, you know, he's always in a strip club and he's always talking about who's a deb, who's a sex change, who's an actual real girl. You know, stuff like that. It's kind of entertaining in a weird way. So you have all this seediness going on and these people getting killed in very interesting ways. And so he's summoned to the home of the big head mafia don kind of guy called Friedlander Bey. And Friedlander Bey basically says to him, you're going to help me out on this. Murid has no choice in the matter. He's going to help Friedlander Bey because he's a very powerful man. But there's some catches that come along with it, which means that he has to get modified. So the story is basically a detective story trying to figure out who the killer or killers are of these people in Boudin who are associates of Friedlander Bey. Think Sam Spade in the 22nd century, and that's kind of what you're aiming for. Now, again, when Gravity fails, this is just the first book, and you get the introduction to Madrid. There are 2 other books in the trilogy. I have a feeling that had he not died, it would have gone further. There is a series of short stories, kind of like his world-building stories, so that he had a reference to, but then they were published. And if you want to sit down for a weekend and have a good, solid read just from beginning to end, like, you know, it's going to be crappy weather and, you know, whatever, you know, or a hurricane or, God forbid, COVID rears its ugly head again. This is a good book to have. This is something fun to read, and it introduces you into a very unique cyberpunk world where it's like cyberpunk meets gender modification meets Islam. And all this was written in the 1980s. All right, so just keep that in mind. But it's still, it aged well, is what I guess I'm trying to say to you. So, should you read this? Of course you should read this, because once you read this one, you're going to go into the second book, which is called The Fire and the Sun. Then you're going to go on to the third book, and then you're going to go hunting down the short story collection, which is not easy to find. So you are going to enjoy this rabbit hole. Again, you're not going to get any deep meaning. It's a detective story. It's a cyberpunk noir, neo-noir detective story. That's what it is. And if you like things like Cowboy Bebop, and you like cyberpunk, if you like Neuromancer, this is going to be right up your alley. So enjoy. Okay, so that's it for this review. If you liked this review, you want to check this book out, you can, of course, always go on Amazon or something and buy it. You can probably go towards your local library and it'll be there. But I know for a fact that you are going to like it. So yeah, check it out. So anyway, so that's the review, and that'll be it. Stop by on Saturday for the weekly dig. I'm not sure what movie we're doing, but we'll be doing something. Started Saturdays at around 8 p.m. And yeah, so I guess that's about it. Remember, COVID-19 is still a thing, so wear your mask, social distance, because, you know, I want to see you guys in person someday, because that would be really cool. Oh, and please like and subscribe. If we get up to 200 subscribers, then you guys get digital sushi, and who does not want digital sushi? All right, have a good week, and I'll see you guys next time.